What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Kenny Quest Show. It's a new week, and I'm looking at my odometer, and it says 5822. I'm like, oh man, I think I forgot about my 5,000 mile review, and it's now due. So we're going to talk about that today. Be right back. All right, 5,000 miles. Well, I have two bikes. I have this bike, the 2021 Iron 883, what I bought brand new. As soon as they released the snake venom color, right off the truck at my local dealer, they posted on Instagram. I went down and said, that's my bike. And 6 months into that, 8 months into that, I guess, I bought a project bike that took about 6 months to get on the road. So in the last year and a half, I've been splitting miles between this bike and my classic Evo Softtail. So I've put more miles on it in the first year and a half, and a little bit less between then and now. But the difference is about 500 miles. But with 5,800 on the odometer, I got plenty of stuff to talk about for the first 5,000 miles. So we're going to pull over here as I traverse around Lake Monroe in beautiful downtown Sanford. They just redid this whole area, and it's looking fantastic. Great spot for a weekend cruise like I'm doing right now. But before I pull over and talk about the fine details and stuff, as far as the ride handling and performance of the motorcycle, couldn't be more than happy with the Iron 883 for my particular needs, which were first bike for a new rider and keeping me interested in the motorcycle itself as my skills progressed. That has definitely happened. This motorcycle is to be enjoyed by a new rider, but also, I would think, an intermediate rider, all the way up to an experienced rider. There's so much you can do to this motorcycle to keep your interest engaged. And if you buy the right bike up front, you're never going to look back and go, I wish I got a different bike. And by buying something like an erector set bike, is what I call the Sportsters, is you can mod them out performance-wise, aesthetic-wise, whatever your heart desires, and your wallet and your pocketbook can stand. So after I got through my initial year and a half of riding, I added the stage 1. Get around this corner here so I can enjoy the twisties. It's so nimble. You would think, 550 pounds, whatever it is, it wouldn't be that nimble, but heck yeah. Low speed maneuvers are fantastic on this bike. But, looking back, I think that was the right decision to keep the stock exhaust on for about a year and a half. Allowed me to focus on my skills and my riding and not so much, performance riding. And then since I've added the stage 1, it just gives you that awesome note that even when you're going slow, it's comparative to other bikes. When you're revving it out, man, you feel like you're going fast, which is good. I mean, this is only making about 52 horsepower, 56 foot-pounds of torque after the stage 1 dyno. But it's still fun. All right, I think we're going to go over to the dock and enjoy that scenery. All right, let's have a look at her. Like I said, 2021 Iron 883 in the snake venom colorway. I believe the bike originally listed at $11,699, somewhere around there. It was, I think, 10.5 or 10.7, 10.9, and then the extra colorway added $600 or $700 on that. But I was undecided on what my first bike was going to be. I had watched all the other YouTube channels that cater to new riders, and some talked about the SV650, which I eventually did ride, KLR 600, ADV bike, Royal Enfield INT 650, which I eventually rode that too. And I chose the Iron 883 because of exactly why, 2.5 years later, 5,800 miles later, how I'm feeling, which is in love with the motorcycle, in love with the Harley Davidson culture and the brand, the sound, the feel, the finish quality, the paint. I mean, look at the paint. it's pretty awesome. You know, it changes color. It's got purple, and it goes to green, and it's got the Willie G #1, which had pulled on my heartstrings because when I was a kid, I liked, you know, Evel Knievel toys and Evel Knievel merch and all that kind of good stuff. Had an Evel Knievel t-shirt. I remember that when I was a kid. So, you know, all these different things come into play when you're making the decision on something that you just don't know anything about. You know, I can say that I made the right decision. Could I have gotten a Dyna at the time? You know, Dynas were discontinued in 21. I could have got a Softtail Standard. Yeah, sure. When I bought my Project Evo, the 1996 Softtail, in one of my videos I said I could have started on it. You know, it's so low with the center gravity, feet were firm on the ground. I could have started on that. So you can go out and buy yourself a Heritage. But what this bike provides is something that I can get around town, and it satisfies that sport bike / cruiser / chopper bobber feel out of one bike. And to me, I think that's kind of hard to find. It's such a micro niche requirement that I have that this one bike can satisfy. But let's go over some things, you know, as far as what over the 5,000 miles I wasn't happy about. Coming out stock, I had my dealer put on some accessories when I bought the bike, and all the accessories weren't in, so I had to come back and get them installed. And one of the things that they couldn't install was the Bun King crash bar right here. So they said, no, we special ordered that for you, and we can't send it back, and we just can't make it work because of your stock exhaust. And, you know, I called BS on that, and that was a couple months afterwards. I got in contact with Wanderer Customs, Pedro, who's my mechanic now, and he just put some spacers on it, and it worked fine with the stock exhaust. So I kind of lost trust with my dealer at that point. First time I lost trust with them. And so accessory-wise, I've been pretty conservative since then, except for the Stage 1, which consists of a K&N high-flow air filter, a DynoJet Power Vision 4 tuner, which is the USB tuner, so it does not stay on the bike. And it has a license for this bike, and then you can add additional licenses for other bikes. And then my Gallop 2-into-1 Mighty Comet exhaust. But some fit and finish things that, you know, over the last couple of years, what I found isn't much. I mean, I got to look really hard. There's some rust that's coming up inside some of these metal pieces that I'm noticing, which probably can just be cleaned off. The susceptibility to scratches, I mean, I ride this bike all the time, so I'm going to have a scratcher here or two, but it's fairly resistant to scratches. I've been running Mobil 1 oil for my oil changes and my primary change. With a Sportster, it's a 2-hole change. Your transmission, your engine are connected, uses the same fluids, and then you get your oil. And Mobil 1 K&N air filter, been doing good, and those parts are readily available at any auto parts repair shop or Walmart, what have you. So I really don't have much to report as far as, you know, dissatisfaction or parts going bad. There was a recall on the stock headlamp, but I didn't have to worry about that because I got the Harley Davidson Daymaker from day one because it came with a halogen bulb. One of the things that I was uncomfortable with initially was the rear suspension, just dealing with bumps and things like that. And I weigh 220 pounds. If you go in your owner's manual, you'll see that the bike is set up for a weight with the suspension of a rider of about 150 pounds. And that's just not me. That's a good, 70, 75 pounds of weight additional that I'm putting on it that the bike is not prepared for. Fortunately, the range on the rear shocks in the owner's manual accommodates riders up to about 250 pounds. So I made an adjustment, and it resulted in me adjusting the rear shocks 3 turns. And by doing that, the ride improved so much so that I forgot about ever needing to upgrade my shocks. And I still feel that way right now. I think that if I went to upgrade my shocks, having ridden other motorcycles in that time, this one stands neck and neck, I feel, with other stock setups. And really, it would just be a vanity thing at this time, just to have that reservoir shock, reservoir showing, saying whatever, Legends, Ohlins, whatever. I think it would just be a vanity thing at this point. I'm going to put my money elsewhere, which namely would be something to perhaps increase the displacement of the engine, which as an 883 owner, you have that luxury. You can go to 1200, 1250, 1275 from either Screaming Eagle, Harley, S&S, or Hammer Performance. They make those kits. I'm still okay with the rider triangle and how things are set up with the 883 bars. I've discussed increasing riser height and then getting a low bend tracker bar from Biltwell or Thrash and Supply or somebody else, and raising that up a little bit. In doing so, then I have to get some kit, raise this, and then I would probably have to get rid of my Pugue aluminum plate fly screen and go with something else, maybe a Roland Sands version of the same thing, which accommodates a little bit higher of a riser. But having used this on some trips, you know, within 500-600 miles and then around town, the way it's set up now is fine. If I was doing some more long distance stuff, multi-states, and you're cruising for hours on end, then yeah, I think then you might want to look at that for your personal needs. But for me, that's not how I use the bike, and I have another bike if I want to go longer distances, which is set up that way. So, I mean, nothing really exciting to report, except that I'm happy with it and what I've done to it. I did take off the belt guard, because I think it looks a little bit cooler on the bottom exposed. On the top, I did keep that one open, and I did keep that on there. But other than stuff that I've already posted about, and there's a link down in the description below at the end of this video, so you can click on the video that talks about my modifications that I've done. I have a playlist for this bike that discusses all the modifications. But outside of that, I'm really happy, and highly recommend an Iron 883 to anybody as their first bike, or anybody that wants a bike to rip around town. These bikes are out there. I know this one right here, the Snake Venom, it's retaining its value pretty good. Retail is around $10,000 right now. Anything from 2009 to 2022 is an Iron 883, and so that's basically the same setup. They made some adjustments over the years. I did a video on the evolution of the Iron 883 from 2009 to 2022. I'll have that video in the link below. You can talk about the timeline and the chart of what upgrades were done at certain times. There wasn't much difference between 2009 and 2022. You know, I probably can count on definitely two hands, but maybe 6 or 7 things over those years that modified and adapted. Mainly the shocks in 2016 and the rear were changed to what they are today. This bike, if you're looking at it compared to a newer Sportster like the Nightster S or Nightster, the Sportster S, this is a totally different bike. Don't be confused by the other offerings under a Sportster banner. They have nothing to do with this bike at all, except they're using the name to promote it, which I think at this point in time is not right. I think that this needs to be retired. 1957, 2022, rest in peace, and something else can be called these other models. I just think it's a marketing ploy at this point. But those bikes are cool, but they're a totally different experience, and I've ridden them, both of them, and they are awesome for what they do. I think everybody out there, not everybody, but a lot of people out there are pausing on the purchase of one of those due to the electronics and the failures that are coming back so far. People are trading them in as fast as they buy them. And just like the Pan America, we're all waiting and seeing if the gremlins and the electronics shake themselves out. Alright guys, thanks for coming along with me on this one. If you ride, keep that shiny side up. And if you don't ride, what are you waiting for? Buy the Sportster. We'll see you on the road. Take care.